Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and in today's video I'll be doing a summary of Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi Force Storm. This is the first comic in that series. This comic takes place right after Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void and right after the short story Eruption. So if you want to know what happens after those two stories, you would actually be reading this. So the correct order for reading should be Eruption, then Into the Void, followed by Force Storm. And this is, like I said, this is the first one in the series, so I'll be doing a full review and summary of the entire Dawn of the Jedi comic book series, so let's begin. One thing I thought that we should probably read is, like, before you start the comic, there's usually always, like, a little summary of what happened in the previous comic. And this one actually has the Jihadi Oath, which I think is kind of interesting because it's very similar to the normal Jedi. I'm not sure if it's called Oath or... But anyways, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. I'm pretty sure that's in the Jedi Code. There is no fear, there is power. I think that's not in the Jedi Code. I am the heart of the Force. I am the revealing fire of light. I am the mystery of darkness. And balance with chaos and harmony, immortal in the Force. So that's, like, it feels a lot different compared to the Jedi Code, but you can kind of see it's very similar. Okay, so to start off the comic, we were told that this is millennia ago, so it's basically just setting the plot of this is way, way, way before, like, the Empire and the Jedi actually were a thing. We have these monks here. They're in Adobe mountain ranges of Ando Prime. This is where it's located, and they sit here and they meditate on, I believe it's pronounced the Tho Yor, which is this pyramid structure that you can kind of see. It looks more like a mountain, though, in this top panel up here. These monks are waiting for the mysteries of the Tho Yor to basically reveal themselves. So they always just sit here and meditate. And then eventually, the Tho Yor calls to the monks. And when it calls to the monks, they all go to the Tho Yor, which you can see better in this photo, is like a giant pyramid thing. And they start boarding the ship. And then once they're all aboard the ship, the ship then takes off. And it's going to fulfill this prophecy. And this is literally just setting up the story. Giving you a good quick history of the Jihadi and everything about them. So they set off, and there's one on Kashyyyk, and the Wookiees are protecting it, and they're protecting it and making sure that nothing happens to it. And then the Wookiees go on the Tho Yor, and then they go on Dathomir and the shamans. You see them on these Rancor mounts down here. They go on it and they travel on their Tho Yor. The Twi'leks find it. The Twi'leks actually were in these caves, and the Tho Yor was in the desert, so they traveled through the desert to get to it, and then they traveled on that. Then we had the Selkath down here in Manan, and then all of them travel together, and they all travel to the center of the galaxy, the core of the galaxy, and they pass this dark matter, as you can kind of see this black thing. And at the center, all these Tho Yors bring them to Tython, where they become the first Tythons. And this is where we basically see that, like, this is basically telling you what the Jedi are. On the Tython, they have these, like, dinosaur-looking things, and they had to use, like, the Force to basically try and protect the people. And it's basically just showing you that the Jedi are becoming an actual order. And their job is to keep, like, was said Into the Void, Ashla and Bogan in balance, and which is the light and the dark. If the light and the dark aren't in balance, there's force quakes and storms that happen across the planet, as you can see in this middle panel here. And then they all try, and this bottom panel here just talks about how they become Jihadi, which basically just means mystic center. The next part just goes on to say that they build their civilization on Tython, they build their temples on Tython, and the people that are force sensitive try their best to protect people that aren't force sensitive, because not everyone's force sensitive in this scenario, or at least I shouldn't say scenario, but here. And they try their best to protect people that aren't force sensitive, and they come to this, like, ultimatum where Tython is such a dangerous planet. There's so many dangerous monsters and things that if you're not force sensitive, they actually start shipping them off planet. As you can see in the bottom panel, they're getting shipped off planet, and there's people crying because they're separated from their families, because some of them are force sensitive in their families, but others aren't. And the Jihadi agree that they should send non-Force users off to other planets because Tython's too dangerous. And this is how the colonization of the other planets in the Typhon system occurs. And this page here literally just talks about how they always are seeking like the Jihadi are always seeking information. They go from youngling to apprentice to journeyer to ranger and to finally master. And they just go to these temples seeking knowledge and balance in the Force. And then it literally just states the Jihadi code, which is there's no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no fear, there is power. I am the heart of the Force. I'm the revealing fire of light. Yada yada yada. So then, anyways, it goes on, and time passes on. The Jihadi become more of a force or whatever. And what happens is in this top panel here, if you have a child that's force sensitive and you're on a different planet, the Jihadi will actually come and pick up your child and then train them on Tython. So it's kind of like similar to how the Jedi work when we think of Jedi and like the movies and stuff like that. And it goes on behind all the different planets. They settled on Sunspot and Maltera, Nox, and Arid Krev. I can't pronounce some of these words, I'm sorry. Arid Krev, Kyoyor, I literally can't English. Kalimar, which we saw, the Jewel of the Tython system. Then Shikawa, the Outlaw World? Question mark. Skagora, and the moons of the giant Aubrey, and Mar, and even the outermost planet, Fury's Gate. So I literally can't say these words. I'm sorry. But anyways, it goes on to say that the Jihadi are always sent to different worlds to protect them. If there is like an emergency going on, the Jihadi are sent off to help them. And we get a quick look into Depot Wars, which is referenced in Into the Void, where when you go to Nox or whatever, so basically you have this Twi'lek queen here, Queen Hadia is how, her name is Queen Hadia. She basically united all of these different corporations to fight against the Jihadi because she believed the Jihadi were getting into the way of non-Force user dealings, and so the Depot War started, and this is basically just a war between the Jihadi and these big corporations that are in the Typhon system. And this is just going over the war that many people died. It happened on many different planets. It was on Typhon, Nox, literally almost all the planets in the Typhon system were at war. Many Jedi died, as well as non-Force users. One thing I did forget to mention is the Jihadi do win in the end. They killed Queen Hadia, but however, the wars create this lingering hatred for Jihadi from non-Force users. And you see that a lot throughout the entire Void book. There's always people that hate the Jihadi. And so this war is like, I would say, the catalyst or the final straw for non-Force users, basically saying like, you guys think you're better than us, you guys think you can control us, well, you can't. And their loss was what makes people in this world today hate Jihadi. And then anyways, we fast forward to Master Katu, who is telling the story, and we have these two younglings that talk about how like, oh, I hate Hadia, and Master Katu is just like, you can't hate, we have to have balance in the Force, blah 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 blah. And it's basically just reiterating what we just read about how the Jedi, I always get confused, Jedi, Jihadi, same thing, how they try to live in balance and how to understand something. And also Master Katu goes on like, to understand something, we must find in our hearts that we can like kind of love her and understand her. So kind of he's just basically telling the younglings to forget about the Depot Wars. And that happened not that long ago. I believe it was 10 years before this. So these younglings would have had their parents that were in the war, or people that they know would have been in the war. So there's still this lingering hatred and anger towards the Jedi hating Queen Hadia and all of her forces, and all the non-Force users hating the Jihadi. Anyways, time goes on, and we go to Tatooine, which I thought this was the most interesting part. Tatooine was not a desert, so when we think of Tatooine, we think of, like, Luke on the desert of all the sand, but Tatooine back then, but at least back then in this time, since this is not canon, was actually this lush world of water and plants, so I thought that was actually kind of interesting. And you see the Rakata here, and for those that don't know, the Rakata are this ancient alien race. They're part of the Infinite Empire, And you see them here rounding up the civilians of Tatooine. And you have this masked guy who's in this, he looks like a Sith, but he's actually a Force Hound. He basically has the power to sense people, like, he has the ability to sense the Force. And and particularly sense the Force in individuals. And his name is Zesh. So the Rakata are getting all of these Tatooine natives round up, and we have Zesh, like I said, in the armor on the right over here, and then we have Fredor Tulkar, I believe. He's the main Rakata dude that basically is in charge of Zesh and cleansing the planet. Zesh is over here, and he's inspecting some of the civilians of Tatooine, and he uses the Force to tell which one's Force sensitive, and then the Rakata kill him. Anyone that's Force sensitive, which is crazy. I don't know why the Rakata are trying to kill Force sensitives. I guess we'll find out later. And what's actually interesting is one of the father of the child that was murdered basically rages and basically says, "Why can you do this? I'll fight you until like you guys are all wiped out." And then I'm pretty sure this is Predor. It's really hard to remember their name. Predor Tukar uses Force Lightning on the father, and yeah, so it's kind of, I'm trying to figure out what are the Rakata trying to do. The Rakata are trying to kill all the people that are Force sensitive, but at the same time they can use Force Lightning. So I wonder if they're just trying to purge everyone of the Force so that they can control the planets easier. I'm not quite sure, but we'll find out eventually, I'm guessing. So anyways, he gets Force shocked, and we see Tatooine, the city, burning in the background. And they're basically calling all the Force sensitives, and then we have this one Rakata guy, this green one in the background. He basically goes to Predator Toolcar is his name, I believe, right? The blue one. I don't know. It's really hard for me to remember them. And the green guy comes up and basically says that there's this other Predator, Skalnas, who is his rival, is telling him that he has to return back. And they have to meet together because, you know, they have new orders to go back to Biss, and that this green Rakata is meant to oversee the culling of Tatooine. Tukar is not very intrigued by that, and he basically just uses the Force to kill him because he's kind of like, you don't tell me what to do, I do what I want, you know, type of thing. Tukar just kills him with Force Lightning. Zesh just watches in amazement. And then Tulkar is like, we're going to go back to meet Skalnas because he has orders, but he has to obey the orders, but he has another motive. So then we go to the deep core of Biss, where the Infinite Empire established a center of power from the temple fortress. The Rakata explore the mysteries of the deep core and plumb its riches. They go to this base on Biss, and we have the command center, Skalnas, as you see here, with this weird Sith witch. She's not really Sith witch because the Sith don't exist, but she's another Force Hound that we meet, and Zesh is here as well. And they basically go on this fight of like, why did you summon me here? Well, I was killing all the slaves and like killing the Force sensitives, and if you're not Force sensitive, the Rakata take you as a slave. Skalnas goes, oh, we need Zesh because Zesh has the power. He's the Force Hound. We need him for help for this mission because Trill, who is the Sith-looking chick, with the white crazy right hair, Trill she senses something deep in the core. She senses a planet filled with Force sensitives, but she's unable to really pinpoint the location. And they want Zesh to actually help her with pinpointing it so that they can kill all of them. Anyways, Trill says that it's impossible because she's trying to, like, she can sense that there's a planet, but she says it's impossible to finally basically pinpoint it. And then Skalnas basically just tries to be like, hey, Zesh, is this impossible to find? Like, do you think you could do this? And then Zesh just like, yeah, for her it's impossible. Basically, low-key just saying, you're terrible. And so then Trill and Zesh have a fight because Zesh just literally called her bad. They have this fight, and Zesh is literally kicking her ass and like about to kill her. You can see her down here. He literally got his lightsaber out, about to kill her. Anyways, Zesh was literally about to kill her, and then Skalnas comes in here. Whatever. Comes in here and basically uses the Force to push Zesh away. And they go on to saying how this was not an actual challenge, and that apparently the Rakata can have their Force Hounds challenge each other, and then they will kill each other to the death or something. I don't know. they say that they'll later at a different time, Skelnash and Tool will eventually challenge, and so I'm assuming later in the story we'll see these two fight at some point. Skelnash goes on to say, Zesh, can you find the planet? Can we find this planet filled with Force users? Yes, Zesh basically responds of, yeah, we'll find it. And that's about the end of the story. So as we know as the reader, we know that they're talking about Tython, and we're going to see Zesh and the Rakata Empire attack Tython. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and just leave a comment of what you liked about the video, what you liked about the comic in particular. And also, I'll be doing a whole series of all of the comics in this Dawn of the Jedi, so if you want to see those, please make sure to subscribe to pay attention and look out for those. But anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay frosty.